I'm Dewan Johnson. Welcome to the Think Bigger Actors podcast, where I share with you different kinds of talks and coachings and conversations with actors and industry professionals on thinking bigger. I hope these conversations will help you on your path to success, because I believe success is an inside job that starts with your mindset and the thoughts you hold dominant in your mind. Change your thoughts and you change your world. Your path to thinking bigger begins now. Welcome back to the Think Bigger Actors podcast. I'm your host, Dewan Johnson, and we have got an awesome, podcast for you today. We got Luke Barnett on today. He is an actor, a producer. I mean, he's all the things. There's all the things. I really wanted to get a chance to sit down and talk to him, and it's a great talk. But it's also been like pretty exciting over here. If you follow me on social media, Instagram at Think Bigger Coaching or at Dewan Johnson, then you probably already know this information I'm about to share because you are already in the know, even though I should have dropped it with the podcast listeners first. But I announced the Disney show that I have been working on for the last year. It is a Disney Channel sitcom, kid sitcom called Electric Bloom. Electric Bloom, what's up? It used to be called How We Became the Biggest Band in the World, but then they changed the name. That was the working title. And then, I guess a couple months ago, they changed it to that. So anyway, it premiered last week, and it's pretty amazing. I've never done a multicam, comedy. I've come in for little bits on comedy before, but like to be there, all the time with when you're doing the multicam is really, really exciting. And it's really terrifying also. I got to tell you, let's just be honest. It's a little terrifying because, for a guy who's always done episodics, not always done, the majority of my my resume is episodics. And so I know I'm funny. I think I'm funny. But, sometimes you get pigeonholed or typecast in, this industry. I don't have a, but I think because if they see you this one way, that's what they're going to bank on, what you can do. But, they saw past all of that. And so I'm excited. So go check it out. It is Electric Bloom. They're dropping 2 episodes a week. And so Get your weekly dose of Dewan Johnson on TV, or if you have kids, you're gonna want to see this one too. So, if you have not, speaking on that topic of Electric Bloom, if you have not watched my mini-sode right before this episode right here with Irene White, run. Don't walk to listen to it. Irene is an actor and a private client of mine and Think Bigger. Well, she popped up on set. She popped up on set as an actor on the Disney show. I can't tell you what role because Disney doesn't. They don't want us to spoil the storyline. But we got to act together, and we talk about it. And there was just this one day when I was like, Irene, I'm gonna bring some wireless mics, and we're gonna sit here and record a mini podcast on I'm on my phone, and we did, and it was so amazing. So if you have not had a chance to check that out, please go listen to that. It's so good. We talk about how she booked the role, how it's like, what it's like really working with me, Like it's one of those things where you have seen my work before, you have heard me talk about audition and stuff like that, but you haven't heard me anybody talk about how does it feel to be in a scene with Dewan. So that's a good one. It's a really good one. And I would be remiss if I didn't go ahead and mention again, the Booked and Busy Actors Retreat is next month. It is next month. We got to if you haven't got your tickets yet, you really need to get your tickets. We locked in all of our speakers already. And let me just tell you, this is an all-star, star-studded industry event that I am so happy to be spearheading for the second annual, Booked and Busy Actors Retreat. And it's really, 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 really good. So let me just tell you something. We have Shaz Bennett coming in. She's a showrunner. If you don't know what a showrunner does, this is important because showrunner is the top of the show. They're running the show. So for example, on Bosch, we had, casting director that cast, but they have to still get approval from producers or the showrunner, and then it has to go up to network and studio and stuff like that. But a showrunner is somebody you want to hear from. You want to hear from, what are they looking for? What do they see that works? What do they see that doesn't work? This is why I bring a showrunner in when I can. Lisa Zambetti, casting director for Criminal Minds, is coming in, and she's going to break it all down about what the data is showing right now. in the industry. We have Brianna Anso from Clear Talent Group, who is an agent. The head of the theatrical division is coming in, and they're having a duo with Matt Gogol, who's a manager. They're going to have mock interviews. We're just going to have so much fun with like really just breaking this down. And I think you want to be a part of that. Keena Ferguson, who is a TV director, coming in to talk to us about project creation. Karima Westbrook is going to be one of our working actors, and she was on All American for 5 seasons as a series regular, and you want to hear what she has to say. And she's also worked with me before as a private client. So this is a really, really, really good one. And then we have Davida. Davida is also a manager. I don't remember her manager company, but she's a manager, and she is coming in to talk to us on Friday night for our podcast. And listen to this. Listen to this schedule. I mean, it's like I designed this booked and busy actors retreat with you in mind. I keep getting asked, how do I get to this level? How do I move the needle? You move the needle by doing stuff like this. Move the needle. All right. I've talked enough about that. Let me get going and let's get started on this episode. Let me introduce Luke. Today's episode is brought to you by Casting Networks. Casting Networks helps performers find great roles and industry professionals find great talent. You can create a profile, upload your photos and reels, find an agent, and submit to thousands of projects. Your next role could be just a few clicks away. So for a limited time, Casting Networks is offering our listeners $65 off a premium annual membership when you use the code ThinkBigger at checkout. You can start submitting to casting calls right away. Terms and conditions apply. So visit www.castingnetworks.com/promo-codes to learn more. All right, here we go. Today's guest is Luke Barnett, actor, writer, and the creator behind the award-winning film Faith-Based. He's been featured in varieties, 10 comedians to watch. He's got a project on Netflix. He's one of those multi-hyphenates who's done the work on both sides of the camera. But what I love the most about the conversation that we just had is Luke's honesty. I mean, he just really gets vulnerable and honest. I don't know. Is this something about me? But he does. He gets very honest about what happens after the breakthrough, right? After, when the industry still doesn't quite know where to place you, what happens after that? This one's honest. It's funny. And it's full of a real talk about making your way in Hollywood, because he really breaks it down about great, I made a film. Now what? Or, oh, cool. Do I get an agent or whatever? It's all so good. And I'm going to tell you this. You are going to want to stick around at the end to hear the D12 shot where I bring it all together. What's up, Luke? How you doing, man?
Hey, man, I'm glad we finally made this happen.
I'm just laughing because I was thinking to myself, how much or how often do you get asked about your mustache? Is it literally, does it take up all of your auditions, your interviews?
I'll say this. I finally hit a place with the mustache where you're in a commercial audition and the guy's like, "Are you willing to shave?" And I was like, probably. I didn't give a straight. Usually I'm like, "Oh, anything you'd want. Burger King, anything you'd like." And now I'm like, I probably.
Yeah. I just say no now, right now. And I don't know if that's, if you guys are watching this on YouTube, you'll see, but I have the My First Beard. You see how it's patchy,
yeah, it's beautiful.
Man. It's
you got the grays coming in. It's got the character. I love it.
I know. But this took me 1 full year to grow. And I just don't grow. And so now we have switched over into this part of my career where my manager was just like, what if we didn't try to get the young lead, what if you just really just sat into your age? And I was like, gasp. What do you mean?
I'm 100% there. I didn't have the gasp. I was like, yes, 100%.
Were you?
But I will say, we're there too, and it's to the point that commercials, I'm a strong I'll say probably, but I know if I don't think they're gonna push back because this is what they're looking at. It's so distinctive, but I have had it on something where I booked an indie, and they wanted me to shave, and we weren't by any means overly pushy about it, but my manager wrote back and was like, I kind of, I don't want him to shave. If it's a must, we'll talk about it. And they were pretty cool. They were like, no, keep it. We love it. because it's like you're right. It doesn't take 3 days. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah, we've been crafting this, and that's a really great intro to what we've been talking about because like what I'm hearing is we're no longer those actors on some occasions that we're like, we'll do anything, shave, yes, yes, I'll like shave my legs and everything. Like, we were I was that guy for so long. And I just want to say to you, Luke, on national, international, people are hearing us, you've graduated. You're not that
yeah,
guy.
we're not that guy. I mean, maybe for the right
I
director
mean,
project. You know what I mean? P.T. Anderson calls me, I'm shaving my legs in 6 seconds. You know what I mean? But for
if I get on
everybody
Shogun,
else,
if I get on
yeah,
Shogun, that's
yeah,
over.
yeah. You give me 3 lines on Shogun. I'm shaving it all off. But
All right,
no,
so
no,
let me
most
just
people.
rephrase that. What I hear us saying is we've made it to a point.
Yeah, we won't shave it for anything.
Okay.
You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Yeah. Take that non-union. We're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
gonna.
Your non-union regional toothpaste commercial.
we
This
are.
mustache is staying on.
We're gonna keep that
I've
on.
hit that level of
Oh,
self-respect.
oh, brother, I am so happy to have you on the podcast because I have been circling you, on Twitter, I call it, and for so long, and you're just like hilarious, and Twitter suggested us. Twitter did a good thing.
Twitter did a
Like,
good thing. Every now and again, well, and every now and again, I'll see a tweet from somebody who I assumed I followed, and
yeah,
then I'll be like, oh, I don't follow this person. They just pop up, but I've always enjoyed their stuff. And you're one of those. All your stuff's always it always inspires me. It always like recalibrates my mindset a little bit as an actor. And so for the longest time, I just assumed
we're
we
following
were
each other.
following each other. You know.
But thank you, man. I appreciate that. We have a lot of friends in common too. And so, it was just like one of those things. And then I just started following you and you're hilarious on it. So if you're not following this guy on X Twitter, like make sure you do. Barnett, right? Luke Barnett. Is that what it
Yep,
is? Yep, Barnett. And there's like a baby on the
that's the
little
one. Is mustache man holding a baby.
mustache man holding the baby, there. I think it's really interesting. So, one of the reasons I really wanted to have you on initially because of, there's so much great stuff you do for all mankind and all that good stuff. You're an actor, writer, producer. But I really leaned in and begged you to come on when you wrote that tweet about your lucky day. And if you give me a second to read it in my total VO voice, your lucky day was rejected by Sundance, South by Southwest, Toronto, Tribeca, and Cannes, CAA, WME, UTA, and more all passed on representing the movie because it was quote unquote too small. It's now in the top 10 of all movies streaming on Netflix for the second week in a row. That was a couple weeks ago. No one knows anything. Can you tell me a little bit? There's so many questions I want to unpack with that. First, just let's talk about that. But like, really and truly, man, that was a brave post, because we're actors. We were talking about that stuff in the beginning. We're all so scared to like upset. Can I say the man? Is that okay? Like the
Yeah,
man
the
to upset the
suits.
machine. How about that? Upset the
Yeah.
machine. Like, and you just went in on this post, and I was kind of just like, you need to come on the pod. Come talk on the pod.
I mean, when I wrote that, I thought about that idea of a post for then it's not worth their year of effort to put into it. And I respect and understand that. It's more that nobody knows anything. And so just because your movie didn't get in or your script didn't get selected to this doesn't mean that it's not worthy of an audience or whatnot. It just might have to find a different path because most 99% of them do, you know?
I think that can be not compared, but that can be related, or it can be taken on by actors as well. Because I think what I'm hearing there is just because you weren't chosen or selected in film festivals thing doesn't mean you didn't have a great product. Same thing
100%.
with acting as well. Just because you didn't book that one role, you might have put an awesome freaking self tape down, but that doesn't mean, one person book it if there's 3,000 people that are, submitting and auditioning and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So that's more of what I'm hearing. I didn't think it was an FU. Maybe it was, but I didn't think it was that. I thought it was keep pushing is what
Yeah.
I got from that
I think
moment.
so too. And again, I hesitated to put it out because it is a little bit of like calling out saying out loud, this person rejected this thing that now kind of in a way succeeded. But I don't think it was as much of a dig against those places or those companies. It was more hopefully an inspiration for people that are trying to make their thing. And it is the same thing for acting. I'm sure you've seen what's that? I don't even know if they're still in the same location, but there's a commercial casting office in North Hollywood, or there was, and they always had that sign in the lobby that said something
Oh,
like, on average,
yeah.
7,000 something people were submitted for this role in this commercial. 200 were whatever filtered down. Uh, eight are called back. Two were put on a veil. It was all these things, and it was like, if you're in any of these stages, that's how insanely lucky you are to like be in this
Right.
lobby right
You've already
now.
made it or something like
And I
that.
always thought about that, especially because like the first time I ever made something ourselves, like I produced a movie in 2016, the first thing I ever made. And I remember this is a movie that paid $300 a day, yada yada. And I remember getting these submissions and getting these things from people who were series regulars on shows. And the conversations we were having about that just made me as an actor be like, oh, like now I know from the other side how much is out of your control, how what the politics of this all are. Like we're lucky, numbers wise, we're lucky to have the opportunity to do our thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to peel that back so bad, but I feel like I feel like we're vibrating so high. And so I want to take us back just one step
Sure.
because you've been producing for a while. I can't wait to talk about this faith-based comedy, satire, like but all that. But so have you always wanted to be a producer writer of stuff? You have Lone Suspect, and which is your producing company. Like, I guess take me back to that. Were you out here acting for a bit and you're like, this isn't happening the way I thought it was going to be? Or did you come out here and were like, I also want to do both? What was the avenue of that?
You know, High school times I knew I wanted to be in the industry. Like I knew I wanted to be a part of it. I wanted to be a part of making things. And because I did plays and all that stuff in high school, I think the natural move was to move out and pursue acting. And then I probably did 6 or 7 years after I moved out of all the things you do when you first move out here to be an actor, every kind of bad student film and non-union commercial and all that stuff. And nothing was really working for me. And in hindsight, there's a lot of other factors that I could look back on as like learning lessons, what I would have done differently, what didn't work. But for the most part, it was not working.
Mhm.
And I had two roommates at the time. It was maybe longer than that, to be honest. It was maybe more like 8 or 9 years. But I had two roommates at the time that were much more successful than me. One was a composer named Matt Messina who did Juno and Up in the Air and all these great movies, and the other was a very working actress named Carly Craig, who would work a lot with the Farrelly Brothers and David Wayne and these kind of bigger comedy, troupes. And this was the height of Funny or Die, Will Ferrell's website. For anybody who's on the younger side, he had a website. This is probably 2012 ish, and they would do kind of cinematic short form comedy. And they would get massive celebrities to come out for free to be in these sketches. So you'd have, Brad Pitt and Keanu Reeves and Denzel Washington coming out to do these little 3-minute comedy videos. And Carly worked with them a lot. She would always be in their stuff. And at one point she said, why aren't you writing? Why aren't you making your own content? Write something. I'll take it to Funny or Die. I'll be in it, yada, yada. And so I wrote this sorry, I've told this story before, but I wrote this sketch called Growing Up with Gosling.
We've never heard it.
Yeah, where I in this sketch I played Ryan Gosling's childhood best friend who he would always try to cast as the other lead in his movies, but within a few days the studio would replace me with a woman. So it's like the sketch kind of went back and forth between me and Ryan Gosling wearing matching tank tops, matching glasses, and then clips of his movies where I'm green screened in place of Rachel McAdams or Christina Hendricks or Emma Stone. And this little She Took It to Funny or Die, this little video that probably cost $1,000 was suddenly in the LA Times and the Hollywood Reporter and all this stuff. And for me, it was such a light bulb moment. It was like this little thing has done more for me than 8 years of traditionally kind of pursuing acting. And I just 100% pushed into it. Like I just kept making stuff for Funny or Die. Eventually, I met a kind of director producer and we just really got along great where I would write and he would direct and we'd both kind of produce for Funny or Die. We did a series for Funny or Die, and somewhere along that way, I think maybe when we decided we both wanted to make a feature, I decided like this is working so much better for me. I'm going to stop acting and I'm going to 100% focus on writing and producing. And so I literally took a almost 9 year break from acting to focus on writing and producing, and I did, and that kind of worked for me. And then I got back into it in 2020 when we made this movie Faith Based.
Wow. Wow.
Long-winded, really long-winded
No,
way of
it
telling a
wasn't
story.
long-winded. It's so good. I don't actually think I think you didn't go far enough into all of it, because I mean, I kind of want to be like take us back to
Sure.
2011 or 2012 when you made that decision to stop, to be like, great, I'm in Funny or
Yeah,
Die. And I remember that era. One of my friends, Beth
sure.
Dover, who I think you know as well, maybe Beth Dover used to do a lot of Funny or Die stuff as
Yeah,
well. I I don't want to tout my own horn, but I did do like a 17-second Funny or Die. It never got any traction, but
sure.
like, so it died.
A lot of them didn't. Some did, some didn't, you know?
Something, but like, it sounds like at that point you decided to really just take this into your own hands, to really just be like, and a lot of people have a lot of hard failure moments they feel, or like angst that comes with, I'm going to stop acting to go to something that is working for you.
Yeah.
Did that
I
happen
mean,
for you? Or like,
yeah, it wasn't like an easy choice by any means, but it was definitely a little bit of like I'm seeing doors open on this path. Like I'm
mm,
seeing it work. I'm seeing it happen. I'm seeing opportunities come to me. Like, our first movie we made, we did everything you're not supposed to do. We did credit cards and then friends invested and all this stuff. It got into Tribeca. It had like this whole thing. And for me, it was all just such a like, I have to put all my focus into this thing that really is working for me, and that the universe is showing me like you're good at this. This is working. And honestly, like for all the difficulties of having an acting career now and stuff, getting back into it the way that I did and the way it's been so since, I couldn't have, in hindsight, asked for a better like situation. Really, like
yeah.
I'm really glad it happened the way that it did, even if it was hard to kind of walk away for a solid amount of time.
Do you think you just couldn't do both? It just wasn't possible at that time. I understand the green lights, were like pointing to that. And I'm just, I want to just hear, because there's a lot of people that want to try to do both.
Yeah,
Actor,
which I still
producer,
do. You know what I
director.
mean?
Right now, I know we're going to get to now, you currently now, but
I
like at
guess
that
I
time.
guess there was a little bit of a feeling of like like on our first movie, for example, it was like I could have played that lead. Like it's written in a way that
Mm,
I could have played the lead. And when it was all working for me and we felt like it was going a certain path, and this is not right for everybody. Like I've cast myself in other stuff that I've written since, and I still will continue to make stuff for myself as an actor as well. But at the time, it felt a little bit like very first movie. I wanted to have the success that it could have. Let's cast all name actors in this thing. And so Lucas Neff, who at the time was the star of a show called Raising Hope, we met him and he was phenomenal. He's a great actor, and he was currently starring on a TV show. And it just felt like, you know what, all those things combined, I want him to play this role that I wrote. You know what I mean? I want to see if he can elevate the material with and overall if a cast like this can help the movie have a little bit of success that kind of puts me at a different place in the industry. And I don't regret that even as much as when writing that script, I was imagining having a great time playing that role. I still think I made the right decision in wanting somebody else at that time to play it.
That's lovely. That's hard. I have to say, I directed a short because I wanted to show that I could direct, and for I
Yeah.
was, doing that thing for when I was shadow directed on Bosch and stuff like that. And I directed the short, I wrote the short, and of course, you produced it for like what, I don't know, $15,000 or something like that. And anybody ever asked me about that, the one thing I would do differently is I wouldn't have been in it.
Hmm.
I would not have been, and it was such a personal story, and I
Yeah.
wanted to do it. I was like, this is going to be a vehicle for other things, but it was for the directing and stuff like that. And like me thinking about it now, I was like, I was watching Jason Bateman in an Ozark, and his name
Uh-huh.
would pop up, and I was like, well, if Jason Bateman can do it, I can do it too.
Yeah.
And yeah, Jason Bateman has millions of dollars behind him and all that stuff. So
Yeah, I
I
mean,
hear you.
I just directed my first thing. It was a short as well, and I acted in it. And it's weird because on that one,
Mm,
I don't regret being in it. Like I
yeah,
am. It's like each thing can end up being a little bit different in terms of I don't
yeah.
know hindsight.
Well, but here's what I'll say might be a little bit different. You had a lot of movies in
That's
behind,
true.
so this was my first
That's
thing.
true.
Does that
I,
make sense?
I was
So
as lucky as it gets in terms
mhm,
of both being able to have
yeah,
a crew and producers that I'd worked with so many times who are so much better than me at all of the things that they do. Um, and kind of having produced enough stuff to be like, once I'm there, I'm going to be able to turn it off and focus on the
right.
performance and whatnot, which I think would be difficult if you hadn't uh, maybe had quite as much experience behind the camera.
Yeah, none. Like, I mean, I've been behind the camera
Yeah,
as an actor, but I didn't,
sure.
like, it was very, very new, and then all that stuff. So that's just something I think about sometimes, if I ever did it again. Hey, it's Dwan, and I want to talk to you actor to actor. If you've been grinding, auditioning, taping, and still wondering when it's finally going to click, I created something for you. It's called the Booked and Busy Actors Retreat, and it's happening August 22nd through August 24th right here in Los Angeles. And this isn't just another event, it's a reset. 3 days in person here in Los Angeles. And the room? It's going to be filled with casting directors, agents, working series regulars, and actors like you who are done playing small. You could be one of the actors who gets their self-tapes reviewed live. You could be one of the actors sitting across from reps in a mock meeting. And no matter what, you'll be creating, connecting, and walking away with a roadmap that's built around the work you put in that weekend. No more DMs into the void. No more wondering if they saw your tape. No more feeling like you're doing this all alone. And let me tell you, last year, actors called this retreat transformational, generous, the most real actor experience they ever attended. And this year, we're going to go even deeper. We'll work on mindset, sharpening your craft, and making sure that you walk back into this industry, you do it with confidence, clarity, and a circle that has your back. This is where you stop waiting to be picked and start showing up all like you already booked it. So go to www.bookedandbusyactorsretreat.com to claim your seat. Again, that's www.bookedandbusyactorsretreat.com. Seats are intentionally limited, so if this sounds like your next move, trust that feeling. I'll see you there. So we're
Yeah.
back, and finally we get back to not finally, but we get back to even before we get to 2020 when you came back to acting. About around like 2019, I think I read, is when we did Faith Based, and this is the writer director team I think you were talking about
Yeah.
with your friend that did that with you. So I guess my question is, did you start Lone Suspect after? Did you start that before? Like in that interim, in that 9 year period, or when did that come about? Did you just say, I'm going to make a production company for myself?
We started that right before we went to do our first feature. Like
Okay.
I was working with the same guy, Vince Michelli, on all of our Funny or Die stuff at that point. We just kind of kept doing stuff together over and over
Mm.
again. And when we decided we wanted to like kind of do all of our stuff together, we started that company. And since then, it's like we still have the company and we still will continue to work on stuff together. But like part of which we'll talk about later, part of how Your Lucky Day came about was that an opportunity for him came up, like a job came up that kind of put Lone Suspect on hiatus. So I'm sure we'll continue to do stuff in the future. He's one of my best friends and one of the most creative guys I know. But
I heard you guys were in the fight. I read the Reporter. I
yeah.
heard
No,
the Hollywood
I
Reporter,
just,
and
you know
it's.
what I mean.
I'm
Like,
just listen. I'm not. This is a gotcha. A
yeah,
gotcha.
I got you. This is your Nikki Fink moment.
This is my
Uh,
big moment.
for those who are 25.
Right. Sorry.
Uh,
They don't know.
yeah, yeah, but it was great. We started that like in the midst of kind of wanting to put together our first
Yeah.
movie and see what that would look like, and
Yeah.
it's been a great experience.
Okay. Okay. Great. So here we are. We're in 2019, and reading like what I found on about faith based, and then reading your text about like not wanting to call people out. I was like, Luke, you went after the Christian world. Like, I mean,
Uh-huh.
you like went after all faith based like films and stuff like that. And so, I mean, you're not scared here, man. Like you're like.
Well, it was a funny thing. Like that movie, that movie came for those who don't know what faith based is. It's a movie we made that came out in 2020. It's called Faith Based, and it's basically about these two guys who come to the realization that sort of all these bad Christian movies starring Kirk Cameron or Kevin Sorbo or whatnot, or Dean Cain, they all make millions of dollars no matter what. And so, and there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes, like mega churches will buy out theaters to get take their bus loads, literally vans of their members to go see these movies. Like they will be successful, and it's, in my opinion, caused a lot of the quality to be compromised and a lot of there not to be a need to make a good movie if you can just make a Christian movie. And so the original idea was like, what if there was these two guys who came to the realization that those movies make money, and then they said, you know what, we're not having success in life. Why don't we just make one of these movies? And they don't know how to make movies. They're not Christians, so it's a little bit of like, Ed Wood meets Saved in a way. And originally, we were actually going to shoot this movie on our phones for 10 grand and kind of improvise the whole thing with just all of our friends. And that's kind of how it started.
And then it turned into something so much more.
Yeah. I mean, well, I think at first we were like, I'll write a script. I'll write the script of it. We can improvise off of it, but I'll write the script so we have it. And then once we started sending it to people and kind of crew and casting, it was really the only thing I've ever made, and probably will be the only thing I ever make, where everybody just said yes, which like never happens. And so actually, somebody you've worked with, I think Lance Reddick was the very first person to sign on. Lance plays my adoptive dad in the movie. And once he came on, like there might have been actors that don't necessarily need to do a movie with Luke Barnett, but they will read a script to do a movie with Lance Reddick. And so, I owe so much to Lance, who became a good friend of mine. But once that happened and people just kept saying yes, we were like, okay, we should use real cameras. And so then we had like, it had just happened to be the DP was like, I have access to 2 red heliums. So then we were like, we need a full crew. Like it's so organically, even like raising money for it. It was like, there was an executive producer we'd worked with before who had wanted us to do something else. And we kind of said like, if we're going to do something like this, could you do ours? And he was like, yeah, I'm in. So it was like, that never happens. You know what I mean? So the whole thing just really organically turned into this little indie that could.
Yeah. Well, it seems like the little indie that coulds are your specialty and you're kicking butt with it. I want to make sure I didn't gloss over Lance, who's since passed away. And, I think what a lot of people did not know about Lance was that Lance was funny as hell. Like he was hilarious.
The
But
the first day that Lance was on set, and this was in the script, so it wasn't like I know it wasn't like shocking to him, but we hadn't talked about it. But his very first day on set, we had him in this head to toe green screen suit. And honestly, I was nervous about him like getting somebody, the costumer walking out and handing him this skin tight green screen suit, being like, "This is the first thing you're wearing on this set of this," and you're already on like the indiest of indie film sets. You know what I mean? And so literally, I saw him walking over to the costumer, and I just like was like, "I'm gonna go over there right now." Like I don't, I'm gonna wait to see how this plays out. And he could not have been more excited to come out in this outfit. Like he made a show of it. He had his blazer on. He's holding balloons. It was the best.
He's a good guy. He was just a really really good guy. And I anytime I can talk about any of him or Annie or anybody else, I want to make sure I always say some great stuff about them because keep their memory alive for me.
Well, yeah,
Um,
I also think actors like honestly, actors like Lance to me are the funniest actors because they're such good actors.
mhm.
Like you know, when Lance does comedy, the first thing we ever saw him do that was funny was an SNL or a Funny or Die sketch called Toys R Me, where he plays the manager of this toy store, and all that faith based everything he's done. It's so funny because that level of actor doesn't treat the stupid comedy sketch any different than they treat a Steven Spielberg movie. So
Yes.
it's like he
He gets
comes
it.
at it with full gravitas, full authenticity. He is this character, and that's funny. He's not trying to make a joke of it. He's like, the writing is what's funny. I'm going to play this like it's Shakespeare, you know?
Yeah. I'm good guy, really good guy. And I was scared of him for so long. So I think I'm always, because he was just so serious in everything I
Yeah,
saw, man. You know what I
totally.
mean? But he was just not and passing gas and everything. He's such a funny guy.
Yeah.
I was just thinking though, I love what we're talking about here, but I want to bring it in a little bit. So if you're in 2020, you start getting the itch, faith-based comes out, you start getting the itch to not become, to step back into your actor shoes, right around that time in 2020. What
Yeah.
was the impetus to get you back into that world?
Well, I actually hadn't decided that. I had a great time making faith based. Like it was
Mhm.
definitely like a real. I love being on set every day. I
Yeah.
love performing. I love kind of being in character and all that goes along with it. But it was actually right before the movie came out. A manager who's my manager now, who for 10 years was an agent at Innovative, who I had worked with as kind of a writer producer. Like she'd always put her clients in our projects and stuff like that. And she came to me right before the movie came out, and she was like, "Let's have lunch." And we had lunch, and she said, "I'm actually going to go into management. I'm going over to this company. Do you want to get back into acting?" And I said, I don't know. Like I had a great time making this movie, but I don't know that I want to go back to what I was doing before in terms of
What
what
wasn't
what it,
working?
what that career looked like for me before.
Yeah.
And she said, no, 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 we're gonna use faith based. We're gonna like restart you and kind of literally say in your bio after a 9 year break behind the, like it. She started it with like, no, we're going to reposition you as this other thing, and it's going to be totally different. And she's like the best thing that's happened to me. And so again, kind of like faith based becoming what it kind of became, it all just kind of happened organically, and that never happens, for me.
I like that. So it just happened to a manager knew you and was like, "Hello, Luke, come with me."
Yeah, I think she saw that I loved it and that I was good at it, and was kind of like, why aren't you gonna give this another shot? And literally after my lunch with her, I was like, I'm 100% in. Like I'm gonna put in
Yeah.
the work. I'm gonna 100% go back into class. I'm gonna do these things and just kind of just to treat it like I'm restarting. In a lot of ways, that's been a challenge. In a lot of the ways, it's been great because I had things like faith based that I didn't have before.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just, man, you're so good. You're so good. I just want to talk to you. Like you're giving me tentacles to go so many different places, but I'm gonna hold on to this real quick because I don't want to get away from Lucky Day. I want to see like, how did that come away? And you had the young man from Euphoria in it,
Angus Cloud, yeah.
who was just amazing. I mean, we're talking about a lot of people who passed away, but just amazing. And and Euphoria as well. And how did Lucky Day come about? Let's start there.
Your Lucky Day came again a little bit organically. Somewhere in the midst of the pandemic, I guess towards the beginning, the partner that I had talked about before, Vince Michelli,
Mhm.
who he basically got this great opportunity. He got a great job And when he told me about it, I was thrilled for him. But I also had a little bit of like of a career crisis, just in the sense of like, this is the person I make all my stuff with. If he can't kind of make stuff with me, what am I? I don't have that job. What should I be doing? And I at the time I kind of decided, you know what, this is the universe telling me to put 100% of my focus on acting and writing. And so I kind of talked to my wife, and we said, you know what, I'm going to put all my focus on acting and writing, and I'll only produce if it's either something that I wrote that I want to get off the ground, or if it's something that is so in line with like what I want to be making and doing that I will really regret not being a part of it. And I didn't think something like that would come for a couple years because they just don't come that often. And maybe 2 weeks later, I get an email, I get a phone call from casting director Jessica Sherman, who
Mhm.
I'd worked with before, and she says, "Hey, I'm working with this director, and I think you should produce this movie." And I said, I'm actually kind of stepping away from like producing other people's stuff right now." And she said, "Just watch the short." And I said, "Okay." So I watched the short that he made based on the movie back in 2010, and I watched another short that he made that was gorgeous. And I said, let me read it. And I got, I don't know, halfway through the script, and I said, set up a meeting. And so that it kind of just happened. And Dan and I really, to this day, like just had similar sensibilities and like a lot of the same stuff. And so we worked really well together.
Yeah, you're like, sign me up right away. When it's like right away there. So I love that. I guess I just want to back up for a second. And for anybody out there listening to this, the one person that might be listening, right? No, no, no. The person, anybody out there listening to this, I guess if you are, it sounds like you cannot have your cake and eat it too at the same time. That's what it sounds like by, you actor, we took a little break, we produced, then we came back to it. Now we're acting a little bit. And then you're like, I don't want to produce and do all the things like, but from the outside, it feels like you are having your cake and eating it too. Now that I'm under the hood, is that what I'm seeing? I just want to or am I making this all up?
No, I mean, I think it's just a matter of like, there's projects that I want to, I want to act. So it's like
Mhm.
when there's an opportunity to audition for something, or somebody reaches out and says, I have this role you'd be great for. That's the best. That's the dream. That's what I hope keeps happening. You know what I mean? I
Right.
hope I keep working as an actor. Um, I love writing. I hope that I love writing things for other people. My favorite thing about writing is that I can control it. I don't have to. I
Yeah.
might have to wait for somebody else to get it made, but for the most part, it's like so many things about being an actor, or even a producer or director, is waiting for somebody else to give you an opportunity or to say yes to something. And writing is just something you can always do. And so for me, writing is kind of tied with acting in terms of the things I love doing and the things that I put the most amount of time and effort into. Um, and producing to me is like a combo of, if there's something that I really want to make that is for me as an actor even, I like being able to take control and say, I'm going to go figure out how to fucking make this. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like if I want to play this. And there's other scenarios where I love the idea of being a part of helping somebody else make their thing. Now, producing something that you didn't write and you're not going to act in is so time consuming, and it's so not necessarily as creatively fulfilling as writing or acting, that I don't want to do that all the time. So it's
Right.
like I'm not trying to have a career that's just producing.
Mm.
But when the right thing or the right person comes around that you're like, I want to creatively dive in with this person on this project, that's not something I'm opposed to. Your Leggy Day is the perfect example. It's like I'm not acting in it. There's not a role that I fit really. I didn't write it. But I felt such like I want to create, I want to be a part of making this thing be on screen. You know what I mean? That does not really answer your question, does it?
I just feel like you avoided the question. You didn't want to answer
Yeah, yeah,
it. You
yeah.
know what I mean?
No, I guess the answer is there are
No,
certain
it's
things that
good.
I like having my cake and eat it too. The short that we just did is a proof of concept for a series pitch as well, and it's like that was something that for me, it was a very personal project. And I remember I knew I wanted to act in it, and I, I kept I kept imagining like who am I going to ask to direct this? Like I kept feeling like I'm going to ask this person or this person to direct it. And then I had this moment where I was like, for this one particular project, I am going to annoy the shit out of whoever is directing this. Like I'm going to be at the monitor annoying them. And then I thought to myself, it's a 10-minute short.
Hmm.
I've never directed. I hadn't necessarily wanted to jump into that, but I was like, you know what? I think I would like to explore what a project looks like that is Luke Barnett in the sense that I by no means in the future need to have everything be Luke did everything on this movie, but I guess I just, I'd had so many great experiences writing something that somebody else directed and seeing what they did with it, and that's always been amazing. But I did have a little bit of a curiosity of like, if all the choices that were made in terms of how it went from script to screen, I had input on, and it was a kind of my choices. What would that look like? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so this short to me was definitely having your cake and eating it too, because um, I got to kind of co-do it with my best friend, but for the most part, we got to really say like, what does that look like?
Yeah. Okay. So let me just ask you this. Like, let's get very technical here. If I wanted to make something like Your Lucky Day, take me through how I could do that. So if I'm an actor out here who's like, I got this short, or like the short you do, like how is it in like is it grueling? Is it nobody gets this done like you're saying in this? Or what's the like the overview process of that?
I think the thing that I found interesting, because now we've got a couple projects that I wrote, co-wrote with my buddy Tanner, who that are at like much bigger production companies, so they're at like studio level producers.
Mm.
And my biggest takeaway, having produced a handful of independent movies myself, and then now seeing two or three scripts that I've written, kind of in the process of being packaged and produced through kind of studio level producers, is it's all the same. It all takes fucking forever. The best analogy I could give to trying to make a short or a feature
Sorry,
or a,
I'm laughing because I totally thought that you're going to drop a big nugget. It's going to be like, this is it. And you're like,
yeah,
it's all.
this is it. Call this guy, and then the Spectrum internet cuts out. Like email this guy tomorrow, and he'll make your movie. Cut out.
That's
No.
so awesome. I was like on bated breath and I was like, what's the difference between
Here
Indy
it
and
is.
Tanner's film?
There is no difference. You just got to call Zach Bort. Um,
Sorry, go ahead, man.
Now, honestly, the best analogy I could give is making any of these things, a short, an indie feature that you want to make yourself, or a studio movie,
Mm.
is all pushing a rock up the hill. And all that you're trying to do is add more people that could push the rock a little further. Now, so there's no order to it. Some people will say, get a producer on board who can then attach a director who can then get cast. That's like a very, definitely a way to do it. But let's say this actor, then that might be the first guy you get. Like, can he help push the rock a little hill? And will that actor say, I'd love to do this with this director? Let me call this director. Will it be the director that and you say, I'm going to get this director on board who pushes the rock a little further, and he says, I just work with this actor who I'm going to call, he pushes the rock a little further. They say, let's take it to these producers. It's like there's no order to it. It could be an independent financier that can give you 25 grand to get your movie started. It could be an actor who has famous actor friends. It could be a director that just had a movie at South by Southwest. It could be there's a thousand different things it could be, but you're just trying to add little people that can help get the rock further up the hill. And
Yeah.
if you can do that to the point that it gets out, that's the whole goal. But a lot of people feel like I'm just going to write my script and then hope that the right person finds it, or I query the right person. And if that's the route you're going to go, it can definitely work. I see it work all the time, but that's one route that you're trying. And for me, it's like if I have a great script, whether I wrote it or not, my goal is going to be, how do I get this rock up the hill? And
Okay.
so when I read something or I write something, I think I just, where my brain goes is like, how can I get this a little further? What's the thing? You know what I mean? And I think if you kind of approach it from that mentality, you can make stuff while you're simultaneously this is an actor podcast. For me, it's like doing all those things while I'm auditioning for other
Yeah.
things. I'm auditioning for TV. I'm auditioning for commercials. It's like for me, it's about having something that you can like somewhat control and not just 100% putting all your chips in your agent getting you the audition for the thing.
I think we're past that. I think we're past that. I hope anybody's listening to this podcast, wherever you listen from Middle America, international and stuff like that. We are past the part where we only believe that like every day we're going to be on set for 12 hours. It is going to be 5 days a week. It's going to be, we're there for eight
Yeah.
episodes. We're not
There's
going to have
no
the time.
401k, baby.
It's not. I think we're past that. We understand that even when we're series regulars on shows, we might be doing 4 out of the 8 days. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That
And to
are
be
on.
totally honest, my whole goal, like my biggest, whatever you want to put it, manifesting for like a 5 or 10 year
Yeah.
plan is to be a series regular on a episodic show
Yeah.
that then allows me to have those 6 months to go make all my weird indies. You know what I mean? It's
Hmm.
like, so even when I hit the level that I want to be at as an actor, these things we're talking about right now aren't going to change at all. Like, the only thing that might change is I might finance them. You know what I mean? It's like,
Mhm.
but if you put me on a show for 22 episodes on NCIS Cleveland, I am going to spend those
I'm
other
doing
4 to 5
Chicago.
months. Yeah,
I'm doing
yeah,
Chicago.
exactly. Dude, I'll take wherever. But I'm going to spend those other 4 to 5 months making a weird indie. You know what I mean? Like, this whole conversation to me doesn't change in 20 years.
Well, it sounds like you are, if I might be so bold to say, it is also like the reimagining or the 21st century actor. We don't have the consciousness of the actor's past where they're gonna get a deal from the studio or it's all gonna and we're going to be in picture to picture to picture. This is kind of like this is what it is to reimagine or be an actor in first century. That's what
Yeah.
it sounds like to me because I can go off and do that. That time we're in 22 episodes from the let's just say episodic season from fall till April, and then we're shooting and we got some time off and we're shooting. It sounds like you're really doing a great job at that. So,
I hope
um,
so.
yeah, I mean, if not, it's on the pod. We've talked about it.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's at least out there.
It's at least we're going to manifest that for that. We've talked so much about about the producing and all that side. That's how I really wanted to get into that. But I just want to, as we land this plane, just say, as an actor now, are you feeling fulfilled? Are you feeling like, we got self tapes, we got strikes, we got all that stuff going on. Like, how is your anxiety level there or fulfillment level there?
Yeah, I mean it's such a first world problem situation to have, but it's been an interesting, like I've had for me at least, like kind of the epitome of the minute I got back into it and this manager is like, let's do this together. Let's start with use faith-based. It was like as soon as that happened, COVID happened. And then to feel like as soon as a couple other things happened, the strike happened. But it's that being said, I had a moment recently where I redid my reel.
Mhm.
Which can be it can be a chore, you know what I mean? If you don't, depending on how how you feel about that stuff. But one thing I took away from it it inspired me, I felt good about it was when I was redoing my reel, I found the reel that this is not 15 years ago. This is a reel from that I put together as soon as I signed with this manager in 2020.
Yeah.
So less than 4 years ago. And seeing that progression of like what this reel looks like, the amount of kind of projects and higher quality projects I've done in that relatively short amount of time with COVID and with a 7 month strike, um, really put in perspective, like I am satisfied. I'm very lucky to have
Yeah.
like gotten these opportunities, on top of the things that I've tried to make myself. It's like I've been very lucky to work as much as I have and to have been a part of such creative collaborations that I have, especially given those circumstances. So I did have a moment recently where I was feeling a little bit down just after the strikes and lack of certain kind of auditions that I do still want. But then I kind of saw that and I said, you know what? Like I just have to take moments of like being grateful and embracing the victories. You know what I mean? Because I think any of us that are driven people who have certain goals, I think my biggest fault, at least, and I constantly have to remind myself of this, is the minute something good happens for me, I am so fast to be like, okay, what's the next thing?
On to the
You know
next.
what I mean?
I knew you were going to say
Dude,
that.
we do it.
Yeah.
I had somebody call me up. Do you know Peter Page, showrunner for Station
Yeah.
19?
Yeah.
He called me out hard on Twitter, but in a way that I needed, where I just did this movie in January, uh, with a guy named Noam Kroll, and I got to play this great role. Like I'm the lead in the movie, and I'm this kind of I got to play this really interesting sort of serial killer. And
Can't see it. Can't see it.
you yeah, can't
Can't see
see it. Can't see the mustache doesn't give it away. Uh and so I'd put the Hollywood Reporter article on Twitter, like I talked about it enough. And then I put something out there a few weeks later about that feeling of like, okay, I'm already feeling like on to the next. What's the next what's the next job? What's the next opportunity? What's the next thing? And I think he responded something like, "Didn't you just finish the lead in a movie?" And I
Yeah.
was like, you know what? Like, you're totally fucking right. Like,
Mhm.
I take a second, dude, and just like enjoy this moment before you're like, well, when am I going to get a guest star audition for Station 19? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. It's that old crap that I was talking about on Instagram not too long ago. Somebody said to me, an actor said, "You're only as good as your last thing." And so we take that somehow. I don't know what that even means. I said, I don't even know what that means because does it mean like, what if I don't know, like you're only as good. And so we're always trying to find that next fix for that. So I hear it. I understand it. I see you, brother. It's one of those things, but I think you're doing great stuff.
oh man, you too, dude. You too,
I,
man. Thanks for on top of the great acting work that you do. Thanks for creating this sort of space to inspire all, so many of us that are out here hustling.
I appreciate that. I've said this before, just to be in community with you. I felt like because of what we were always told when I was coming off of Bosch, it was literally I was like, great. I just did 7 years on a show.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm gonna be where the next things are gonna reveal themselves, and we went right into a pandemic. I mean, we
Wow.
finished Bosch in a pandemic when everybody was now all of a sudden looking for jobs. Do you know what I mean? Was
Oh,
looking for that stuff. And so that was one of those things. And I was like, okay, cool. Keep your head up, keep your head up. And then we went into a strike, like, a year and a half,
yeah.
year something later, right after them, after that. And so, it is about like, how do we really think about this career? Is it going to be a 10-year career or is it going to be a 60-year career? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Is it going to be? And so, keep your head up for that, and
Yeah,
remember
man.
you did all those
And you
things.
got to also think it's like the amount of people that I personally know who have been at this for way longer than I have, or I don't want to speak for you, but who are now in their 60s,
Yeah,
or whatnot. And to be honest, when I think of them as actors,
mhm,
almost everything that jumps to my mind in terms of their best stuff and what I think of them, they've done in the last 20 years, really makes me just like excited for the long game. You know what I
right.
mean? Because I'll see this. I talk to a buddy who I think is like 65, and it's like everything I know him from as an actor is 2012 on. So
Yeah,
that's him being 53 or whatever it is. You know what I mean? It's like that's when, not that he started then, but that's when the like real success for him started, and stuff like that. It's like you just got to remember, like, this isn't a 3 year game. You know,
no,
this is a career. This is your whole life.
this is a career, and it might not feel like you're successful at it for a while here. So I'm gonna rapid fire you real quick questions, and I'm just gonna leave it at that, and then we're gonna land this plane, you all. We'll see if
Oh
Luke can
boy.
do rapid fire. I don't.
Ah,
How did producing your own work impact your writer actor self?
it really showed me what I'm essentially good at. Like, I think for a long time I thought I wanted to do comedy, to be
Mhm.
honest. And going from Funny or Die, I thought I was supposed to do comedy. And so even doing faith-based was a comedy. And at some point in that journey of making your own stuff, I realized that's not what I'm best at. Like, so much of the comedies I would write would be weirdly cynical, or would be very like it turn into a drama at some point. Faith based kind of has this, Fury kind of has this, and at some point I had a moment about 2.5 years ago, after a lot of years of doing that stuff, where I looked at it and I said, the movies that I am obsessed with are things like Children of Men and There Will Be Blood and Network and all these things. And I said maybe I should push into that, and it fully changed my mindset both as a writer and an actor in terms of the things that I put my manifesting into and the things that I think I'm good at. Like I think I as an actor, I'm good at being a funnier character on a serious show, but I don't think I'm right. I don't think I'm the lead in your sitcom. Like I think there are so many people that are funnier and more on than I am, and it's not me. And it really like changed my whole thing.
I love that. Did you have any success with cold queries, or did traction come from direct introductions?
I have had no success with cold queries for reps. I've had some producers that now that I've done enough stuff, I've reached out to. I'm looking for somebody more older and bearded now. Like young and black would have been
Ah,
great
man.
on another project.
On another project.
But the one we have now is for kind of a more of like a dad figure.
Dad figures into it. Luke, man, thank you so freaking much. You are
Yeah, dude.
so
Thanks for having
fun,
me, man.
and everybody on the Twitter or the X, you are the same guy in person. Like it is.
Oh man.
I,
Very kind, dude. Thanks for having me.
no problem. Oh, Luke. That's what's up. You know, there's a line Luke said that hit me harder than I expected. It's always taking me a long time, he says. Everything takes me a while, but I usually get there. That's not just a sentence. That's a whole mood. That's a whole vibe. Because I know some of you listening, you've been at this for years. You've trained, you've taped, you've worked jobs that you hate to stay available. You watched friends make it when you're looking left, right, you're on social media. It's like, they're making it. You watch time pass you by. Watch rooms you were ready for somehow keep overlooking you. I had a friend who I was talking to the other day. He's like, Dawn, I haven't been in NCIS in almost 10 years. And he's like, I know I can book that room. So I bet some of you have started to wonder, is it me? Am I doing something wrong? Shouldn't it have happened by now? Shouldn't it have happened by now? Listen, if that's where your head's been lately, you're not crazy, you're not behind, and you are not alone. This industry has done a hell of a job convincing actors that if it doesn't happen fast, it won't happen. That if you're not buzzing, you're invisible. That if you haven't popped, you've missed your shot. But that's not true. And Luke is proof. He's not a burst on the scene guy. He's a keep showing up until the scene shifts guy. And that's the kind of career that lasts. It is. So if you feel like you're still on the outside, still building this thing, still waiting on the world to catch up, to know who you are, to know what is true, this is your reminder. This is your D12 shot. Your path is not on delay. It's in development. And sometimes development takes longer because the story you're here to tell is deeper. So breathe. You're not being punished. Don't worry, just because you didn't send that chain letter back in third grade, you're okay. You are being prepared. And when it's your time, you won't be scrambling to rise. You'll be ready. You already know what I'm going to say. Don't quit. Don't get out of line. Borrow my faith in you. And above all else, hold the vision, not the circumstance.